On September 21st, a public servant from the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries went missing near the NLL in the West Sea and was reportedly shot dead by the North Korean army. What is NLL? What is this NLL that the public servant crossed? NLL is the northern limit line, the northern boundary that South Koreans can travel to. After the Korean War, Mark Clark, who was the commander of the armed forces in Korea at the time, applied the International Territorial Waters Standard used at the time to set the maritime boundary of the West Sea. Standards for setting the NLL, setting territorial waters. What was the International Territorial Waters Standard used at the time that Mark Clark referred to? There are two principles used in the standard for setting territorial waters. The first is the principle of setting a certain distance from the coastline as territorial waters. However, if the coastline is severely curved or there are many islands along the coast, the straight line that connects the end of the land to the islands can also serve as the standard. At the time, territorial waters were commonly set up 3 nautical miles from the coastline. This is because the maximum range of artillery at the end of the 18th century was 3 nautical miles, and this standard was still being applied. Considering the topography of Hamgyongnam-do of the north with many islands and the 5 islands of the West Sea, Mark Clark drew a straight line and set 3 nautical miles as the waters of the two Koreas. The second principle is equal distance. The equidistance principle sets the middle point between the state's territorial waters as the boundary, particularly for states with adjacent coasts. Is NLL territorial water line? What is NLL to North Korea? Although the NLL was based on the standard for setting territorial waters at the time, there is controversy on whether NLL is a territorial water line. Our constitution defines Korean territory as the entire Korean peninsula, so by domestic law, the NLL cannot be a territorial water line. Meanwhile, in 1973, North Korea objected to the NLL that had been maintained for 20 years, claiming that the NLL set by the UN forces in 1953 was unilateral, and that the 5 islands of the West Sea do not fall under the territory to apply the equidistance principle. Since then, the two Koreas have yet to reach a full agreement.